Yeet is back. Yeet.
Yeet, yeet. Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre, yeet the crap out of Jey Uso tonight. What's going on, everyone? Don Tony here. Welcome to your post-Raw show for December 11th, 2023. Woo, woof, wow. CM Punk, Seth Rollins, confrontation of the year. No, for people out there, that is not the Hangman Page promo redone. There is a big fucking difference between Hangman Page and Seth Rollins. And no, it's not wrestling ability. No, it's not promotion. Hangman Page was going into business for himself, speaking on behalf of people that are trying to sabotage CM Punk in AEW, trying to fuck the guy up, and the boss sits in the back jerking off because he has no control over his employees. CM Punk and Seth Rollins have discussed what is going to go down. They discuss it with Triple H Creative. This is all organized. There's no blindsidedness. There's no let's sabotage each other. No, let's make money and let's make history. You don't have to like the person you're on the opposite side of, but if everybody's there for a common goal, man, you know, and you blur those lines of reality, that's where wrestling is at its finest. Seriously. I mean, that's why the psychological aspect of wrestling is what I prefer more than anything else. I absolutely respect each and every one of you out there that loves a 5-star match, that loves the, you know, whatever you want, ultra violence, flippy, technical wrestling, lucha libre, Japanese style, old school style, whatever fancies your boat, I totally respect it. But for me, you want to hook me, you got to hook me here. You hook me here, you don't have to have a 5-star match, and guess what? It's still fucking entertaining. You don't want to shit up the joint and stink it up. But the psychological aspect of wrestling is number one in my book. Always has and always will be. Now, I'm a little annoyed because I spent a lot of time creating that nice little contract spoofing CM Punk, who obviously was going to sign with Raw, but we had to change it to Punked. Remember that MTV show Punked? Did CM Punk get punked tonight? Did he have to take a little bit of medicine tonight? Absolutely. But that was organized. That was designed that way. Seth Rollins has been with that company for the last 10 years. And for the last 10 years, CM Punk has had a lot of animosity, a lot of disdain, some of it warranted, some of it not. But the reason why people feel that this is like the Hangman Page situation all over again, you got to understand something. The problem with a lot of people is that they depend on a lot of media out there that doesn't know the full story, that do not mingle or talk to CM Punk. They don't talk to Triple H. They don't hang out or know anybody that's close with Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, or anybody else on that roster. The idea that people would actually think that members of War Games were not told until right before they come out for their match. Oh, by the way, CM Punk is going to come out at the end, so just go with it. You think Triple H would do that to Seth Rollins? You think he would do that to Roman Reigns? You don't think that Triple H talked to a lot of people on that roster beforehand and said, listen, we're thinking of bringing CM Punk back in the company. This is a billion-dollar professional company. Do you honestly think that because it's what's best for business that you're just going to do it and not tell anybody? Are you fucking crazy? So this has been prepared for a while. Seth Rollins knowing that if CM Punk comes back, Seth, if you are fine, and CM Punk and Seth Rollins have had a discussion, we will never know about it unless they want to tell us about it. It's none of our business to know about that. Why do we need to know that they calmed the waters? I don't want to say they broke bread, and I don't want to say they mended fences. They calmed the waters, but it's not for us to know. But there is no way that WWE is going to bring this guy back without, not only the most important people on that roster signing off on it, but making sure that we do not have a repeat of what happened in All Elite Wrestling. When CM Punk was brought in, all right at the beginning, no one anticipated the hate, animosity, jealousy, and, the plan to, screw up this guy's career. And you saw what happened with some of the media out there being fed those crumbs. I think a lot of people forget all those little crumbs. Every time the guy got a little momentum, some bullshit story would come out to shoot it down. Any of his friends, you think back with Andrade, you think of Malachi Black, you think of Miro, you think of others. Anybody that went against that agenda, that foundation of AEW, whenever something positive or something against AEW, Miro is unhappy. Miro does an interview. I'm ready to return. I don't know why I'm not being used. And then people start picking up on it. Yeah, what's going on with him? And then you get this little breadcrumb. Oh, Miro refused to do a job in a battle royal or something like that. That's the bullshit that we have been dealing with for 18 plus months. So what you got tonight is blurring the lines. And CM Punk absolutely was rattled a little bit. Sometimes the truth hurts. CM Punk is no angel here. CM Punk built a lot of fences, made a lot of enemies over the last 10 years. That does not go away simply because Raw pops a rating, or it's the largest grossing event, or the most social media views in history. You do not mend animosity simply because of views, hits, and revenue. Time clears up that animosity. What CM Punk was told tonight, that this is your last shot, and only time will tell. If you're going to shoot yourself in the foot and pretty much fuck yourself over, or if you are truly that changed person. One day, you'll face me in the ring, and I'm going to put circles around you, and I'm going to show you what best in the world truly is. That is blurring the lines. You, many of you, me, and some selective podcasters out there all called exactly what was going to happen tonight and what was said. Tune into yesterday's sit-down when people asked, what do I think is going to happen tonight? CM Punk signs the contract. Seth comes out. They have that confrontation. For 10 years, you've been shooting this place down. You're not wanted here. That's the story. That's the only story that could be told. That's why when CM Punk came back and gave that very bland speech on Raw, that was necessary. You do not show up and on your first night, you throw all of your bullets out there and name all of your opponents. You haven't even said hello yet. You introduce yourself and then you get a little bit of confidence. And then, you get, okay, people want me to go off a little bit. That's what you do on Tribute to the Troops. He went off and he called a bunch of people out. And then today, when he signs the contract, now CM Punk gets it back. And I got news for you. I know, I'm nowhere the most popular person online, and we could say the most logical things. I mean, look at what happened yesterday with that dim boy stuff. I'm the only person out there that brought up, that post that no one talked about. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. DT, shut the fuck up. You're spoiling our virtual signaling. You're spoiling why we want to say, fuck you, WWE. Shut up. Go with the flow. Just stay in line. Keep your mouth shut. Let us do what we want to do. Can't do that. But I said tonight, CM Punk and Seth Rollins, during that promo exchange tonight, when Seth Rollins was talking and talking and talking, and CM Punk at times had a look on his face like, yeah, you got me. Let it out. Yep. Hit me with your best shot. Here's where I got to prove that I got to take the fucking medicine. And it gave me vibes. I remember that night. I remember it clear. And I know a lot of you out there that have been wrestling fans for at least 11 years remember that night as well. Tonight, CM Punk and Seth Rollins gave me the exact same vibes. One night on Raw back in 2012, when The Rock and John Cena were in the ring, and John Cena started cutting a promo on The Rock, and The Rock happened to have cheat notes on his arm. And John Cena started, blurring those lines a little bit and legitimately rattled the fucking Rock. That moment was like, wow, John Cena fucking rattled The Rock. They ended up going on and having beautiful music. They created beautiful music at WrestleMania. And not too long ago, we saw them hugging in the back. It's SmackDown. One day you will see Seth Rollins and CM Punk together, not necessarily hugging it out. But this is what happens. This is what happens. But it gave me those vibes. I remember that night well. And today, as much as I am thrilled to see CM Punk back in wrestling, as much as I am enjoying this blurred reality and, righting some wrongs and giving us a solid, it's not easy these days. You got LA Knight. You got Randy Orton. You think of the Judgment Day, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. There's not many times where these storylines blur into reality and it gets a little personal. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn reuniting and becoming the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. The reason why that was so much more to another level is because there was reality behind it. People knew Sami and Kevin Owens were best friends, and sure, they still broke bread in real life, and sure, they still cared and loved each other, but people wanted to see that play out on TV. When Roman Reigns, if he ultimately feuds with The Rock, and Hollywood is brought up or something else, that could play on reality a little bit. It is not often that you get a storyline on television. Gunther and The Miz. Gunther legitimately did not like aspects of sports entertainment coming up in his career. Some of what he said about The Miz recently was legit. That's not Gunther's cup of tea. And when it feels like it's real, think back to, I always remember this night. Remember Heath Slater when he came back for one night? I think he faced Drew McIntyre also. And he cut that promo. And it's a shame it was during COVID, but he cut that promo and people like, holy shit, that was incredible. Yeah, because a lot of it was based on reality. Eddie Kingston. I know I've said this 1,000 times over the years, but when Eddie Kingston showed up in the NWA and even Homicide to an extent. I used to say, oh my God, people are going to love this because a lot of what they say is based on reality. And when you could take reality and put it into your character or your wrestling storyline, that's sometimes where wrestling is at its best. Because when it's real and you feel it, and you don't have to act it. The words come out and it makes sense and it feels like it makes sense. When CM Punk was in that ring with Seth Rollins, and we'll recap it. Trust me, I got a whole page. I'm typing as it was going on. You knew, because for the last 10 years, my friends, it's been played out on the web, whether it's through TV, interviews, the Colt Cabana podcast, other people over the years, little remarks. I'm still waiting for that moment where CM Punk bumps into The Miz in the back. It's happening, guys. It'll happen soon. Not yet, but it'll happen soon. Not going to hug it out, but because Miz is a babyface right now and because people know about that history with CM Punk and The Miz, when they truly calm the waters and they're ready, you will see a backstage segment where one will be walking by and just bump into the other one. So I'm telling you, wrestling is at its finest when you can blur those lines. And tonight we got a rare opportunity to see that. But please do not even think for a second that it's remotely similar to what Hangman Page said to CM Punk or anything that went on in AEW. It is nothing of the sort. So, couple other things. We'll get into the promo itself in a moment. Tonight's episode is going to be mostly a Raw recap. There's going to be some announcements coming up soon. Something may change with the shows on Monday starting January 1st, 2024. I promise you it's all good, but we are going to start condensing a couple of shows into one because it's just too many hours of too much discussing. Even today, I'm being asked questions that we got into in detail Saturday and Sunday. So we're probably going to cut it down to 2 or 3 shows a week. The shows will be longer, but we're going to cut it down to like 2 shows a week, maybe 3 at the most. So more details in the future. But January 1st, 2024, not only will that possibly be a big deal for us, our extended family, with some changes with the shows, but could also change the landscape of Raw and the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, although I appreciate the Nostradamus comment that somebody sent before we went live, it hasn't happened yet. Yeet. And by the way, as you saw at the beginning of the show, Yeet is back for Jey Uso. I'll explain what happened. There's a lot of people out there that are kind of mixing up a bunch of things. I will give you the Cliff Notes version of what happened with the trademark, and you'll understand it 1, 2, 3. Trust me, I have, history filing trademarks, so I know exactly what happened to this guy and how WWE resolved it. But somebody sent this to me earlier. Frank, shout out to you, Frank. Thank you for the 10 spot. DT, you are Nostradamus. Not only is Drew going to take the title from Seth, like I said on New Year's Day, but Seth is going to cost CM Punk the Royal Rumble, isn't he? My friends, I'm not reporting this as news, but as you see, as time goes by, we nail about 95% of everything, maybe even more at times. The more CM Punk talks about the Royal Rumble, the more likely he is going to lose the Royal Rumble. The best way to humble CM Punk. See, in AEW, it's a little different. And this is not a shot at AEW in any way, shape, or form. CM Punk was a big fish in a small pond in AEW. It made sense to put the World Heavyweight Championship on him. Do you remember a thumbnail that I put up twice over the last 2+ years? You remember the Bryan Danielson thumbnail? For those that don't know what that is, you could, if you are bored, you could just do the search on my channel. But for 2 times over the last 2+ years, I put a thumbnail up and said, will it ever happen? and it's Bryan Danielson with the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And 2+ years ago, I felt that it was not happening. There was something about it that it just felt like Bryan Danielson said, I don't want the World Heavyweight Championship. It just felt that way, and so far it's kind of proven itself. You know, he fights for the title and he gets close, but he's not World Heavyweight Champion. With CM Punk, though, it was different. With CM Punk, because he is the #1 guy that was in AEW, it made sense to put the title on him. He is the attraction. He put asses in the seats, sold merchandise, was talked about more than anything, drew some ratings. So that made sense. In WWE, though, title is not needed for CM Punk. And sometimes, no matter how much money they could be making right now with CM Punk, no matter how much they pop a rating or sell tickets or sell anything, you still have to reel him in a little bit of humble pie. And for CM Punk, I think the #1 way to do that is you do not give him a championship anytime soon. You do not embarrass him. If Vince McMahon was still head of creative, you think back, remember when Goldberg came in? Goldberg had a little momentum, went after The Rock, went after Triple H, and then for a little bit of humility, put a fucking Goldust wig on his head, did some goofy shit with him, had him lose a couple of matches that he had no business losing. You know, you would fuck with people like that. With CM Punk, you don't have to embarrass him by having him lose to some scrub. One good thing about WWE right now is you really don't have any scrubs wrestling on TV. I mean, you go low on the food chain. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Kira Tozawa is probably at the very bottom of it. I don't see Akira Tozawa defeating CM Punk. But CM Punk not winning a championship anytime soon, the longer that goes by, the better it appears. And in my opinion, there ain't no way CM Punk is facing Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. I've been saying for a while now that Drew McIntyre is winning that championship. And I believe Drew McIntyre will go into WrestleMania as the champion. He will get his WrestleMania moment as champion. I know that may sound trivial to some of you out there, but especially the fact that they built him up at Clash at the Castle and he did not win because Roman Reigns finishing the story, everything else, that is the agenda. They knew it a year ago. That, or even more, that was the plan. No matter how much Sami Zayn got over in Canada, no matter how much Drew McIntyre got over in the UK, no matter how much anybody gets over, they were not changing the story. So I think that happens. I personally think Sami Zayn could main event Saudi Arabia and defeat Drew for the belt. But now I think about it, wouldn't that be a pleasant shocker if Sami Zayn were to win the Royal Rumble and go on and challenge Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania instead of Saudi Arabia? Cody Rhodes doesn't have to win the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes could end up winning Elimination Chamber. Hell, there could be a match on TV where the title shot is on the line. So I think for the Royal Rumble, you don't want... Listen, Cody could very well win it 2 years in a row. But I think if Seth Rollins is not the World Heavyweight Champion going into the Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins will probably screw CM Punk over. And both of them will face each other at Mania. No titles on the line. And guess what? It's better when there's no titles on the line because it could go either way. It could go either way. There are a lot of people out there that think that because of what CM Punk has done for the last 10 years, if Seth is still the champion at Mania, it would be disrespectful for Seth Rollins to drop that belt to CM Punk. Guy that just walks back in because he could not, handle his temper, with all due respect, at All In. You don't do that to Seth Rollins. Then there's some people that feel, hey, CM Punk, most talked about person, put the belt on him. When there's no title on the line, you could tease it either way. And a win is a win. And besides that, when you think about this aspect as well, when it comes to Seth Rollins, you have CM Punk back, and Royal Rumble is still 6-7 weeks away. WrestleMania is still months and months away. There's a lot that's going to go on between now and then. And Elimination Chamber. Bronson Reed doesn't have a shot at the Chamber, winning the Chamber, but they're going to be in Australia. And Bronson Reed is going to get a boatload of momentum leading into Elimination Chamber. Tonight, he faced Ivar, had a great match, but now the smoke and mirrors for Ivar continues. We talked about it 3 or 4 weeks ago. If you look up Ivar's record since he had that match with Kofi Kingston, I don't think he's won a match. But people are like, oh, he's getting pushed. I think getting pushed involves victories and the possibility that, hey, that person could possibly be champion. Ivar is a beast, and Ivar's doing a great job. But I think we all admit the only reason why Ivar is getting a singles push right now is because his partner is on the shelf. But Bronson Reed tonight, you see now where it starts going like this, and Bronson Reed will have that momentum. But I still think Drew McIntyre could very well be World Heavyweight Champion on January 1. How do you justify or explain Drew losing again? I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. But I don't think CM Punk screws Seth Rollins on January 1 either, because some people out there are probably thinking that. You think Seth could be screwed by CM Punk, and I don't see that happening. By the way, the Creed brothers, we're just going to get in a couple little tidbits. We'll recap Raw. The Creed brothers are getting a title shot next week. Now, if you watched Raw tonight, the Creed brothers were not only in the back hanging out with Alpha Academy and Akira Tozawa, but they came out and made the save for the most beloved wrestler on the roster right now, R-Truth. And then they came and made the save for Cody Rhodes. Creed brothers making a save for Cody Rhodes. Why? Well, they're taking on the Judgment Day next week for the Tag Team Championships. Cody Rhodes doesn't have a very good relationship with the Judgment Day. So they want Creed brothers to show their face multiple times. And they are super over right now. I'm not convinced that they're going to win the World Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships next week. I'm not convinced with that. We were yesterday brainstorming some WrestleMania 40 match ideas. And the interesting thing about it is we came up with 2 different scenarios for 2 wrestlers. One is Randy Orton versus LA Knight. And then we were thinking, you know what? LA Knight needs a championship soon. I think fans, that's a situation where fans are like, come on, put a fucking title on the guy. The guy is one of the most over guys and, is on a momentum. And you don't want his match with Roman Reigns to be his peak. Give him a belt somewhere. He's not going to defeat Logan Paul anytime soon, obviously. He's not winning the World Heavyweight Championship anytime soon. He has no way to get his hands on the NXT Championship or the IC Championship. So maybe he and Randy Orton win it like a tag team gauntlet at WrestleMania and become tag team champions. It's not out of the question. But, you start looking at these scenarios and now WrestleMania starts to fall into place a little bit. But Seth Rollins and CM Punk, their destiny is planned. That road is there. Now it's going from here to Mania. And there's going to be a lot of tension. There's going to be a lot of trolling. There's going to be a lot of serenading Seth Rollins when CM Punk is out there. Believe it or not, if you saw the beginning of that promo exchange with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, Seth Rollins got more cheers than CM Punk. But the idea, every time Seth Rollins is on a house show, you want those fans to chant CM Punk. Even though the fans beloved Seth Rollins right now, you still want those fans to chant CM Punk. You got it. The more they do that, the more people are invested in to see what goes down between the two guys. But the idea that CM Punk is going to be a heel anytime soon, that's not happening. I will say one thing right now that I think CM Punk needs to stop. I think he really needs to stop. I loved the story he said today about Indy Hartwell. When CM Punk said that, he brought up Indy was crushed when he turned his back on WWE and walked out 10 years ago. And CM Punk, maybe this is an exaggeration, but CM Punk said that he felt the same way when he saw Roddy Piper show up in WCW. That it was just like, that's not his home. His home is the WWE. The problem is, and you although it was kind of bizarre to see Roddy Piper to an extent in WCW at the time, Roddy Piper had a bad hip. There was nothing he could really do in the WWE. He had the match with Goldust, that fucking awesome brawl that they had, that parking lot brawl. There was really nothing else for him to do. There was Roddy Piper, but still, that's how CM Punk felt when he saw Roddy Piper in WCW. But the one thing that CM Punk needs to stop, he needs to stop saying, I love you guys. CM Punk, I truly believe, has matured a little bit. Getting older and seeing that you don't have too many years left in your career, and how many times have I said this the last 2 weeks? This is CM Punk's last chance. If he blows it with WWE, he ain't going to break the bank in Impact Wrestling. He's not going to make money in MLW. He certainly ain't going to Japan. And obviously AEW Ring of Honor is out of the question. What's he going to do? Make a random appearance at GCW? And how many people are going to care about that? 500 or 1,000 live in person? Maybe, social media will talk about it, but that's not going to amount. When you see the tens of millions of views and tens of millions of dollars that's going to be generated, between extra sales, and this is obviously over a bunch of time. You look at Impact right now. We were talking about it yesterday. They brought in Okada. Okada is one of the greatest wrestlers of this generation. But as far as like American fans go, you go on Twitter, you think Okada is the greatest thing around since fucking Saki. But at the end of the day, if I show 100 people a picture of Okada and I say, who that? Maybe 90 would not know who he is. Impact Wrestling is not going to draw any big numbers because Okada's on their TV. Wednesday, when we get into ratings, Impact's number this week was treacherous. Now they got Okada. What do you think they're going to get? 90,000 viewers? When up from 80. So, CM Punk, this is his last shot. But he's got to stop telling the fans, I love you guys. Because there's nothing to show over 10 years that he does. Understand something. The WWE Universe is not Vince McMahon. The WWE Universe is not Bruce Pritchard. It's not Bucktooth, in the back. It's not Nick Khan. It's not Stephanie. It's not John Laurinaitis. The WWE Universe are wrestling fans. And they watch WWE, and a lot of them watch AEW, and vice versa. We did a poll recently. How many of you out there that watch AEW also watch either WWE or NXT programming? And 77% of you said that you watch both. So when CM Punk is looking at fans in the audience, a lot of those fans also do watch AEW. And they're wrestling fans, first and foremost. It's not, draw the line and, hate the other promotion. Why? Why would you not watch AEW if you still a big fan of Adam Copeland or Christian Cage or Jeff Hardy or anybody that was in WWE? Adam Cole, Saraya, Ruby Soho, whoever you want to put. If you enjoyed them in WWE, especially if you felt like they didn't get a fair shake and now they're in AEW, why wouldn't you not want to watch them do what they do? You could change the channel when other people are on. So, but CM Punk's got to stop with the I love you guys, because it just doesn't come off well. And by the way, we have the history show this week. And I'm not really going to play audio video promos this week, but I will share one thing that I got a kick out of. 14 years ago this week, and it might even be 14 years ago today, we had just found out that TNA is going to go head-to-head with Raw on Monday nights. And I found an interview clip where CM Punk was asked about TNA going on Monday nights to go head-to-head with Raw. It's only 1 minute long, but since CM Punk is obviously the big story of today along with Seth Rollins, this is a little clip of CM Punk talking about TNA coming to Monday nights.
Big news in the world of wrestling. It's Hulk Hogan's now with TNA Wrestling, and they're going to be going head-to-head with you guys on January 4th. What's your take on all that?
My take is, first of all, we have Tribute to the Troops on Saturday. I believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern on NBC. And that's probably going to be a much better show than whatever TNA is going to put on. I have a lot of friends that work there. And I do watch the show, but I seem to watch it on perpetual fast forward. I really hope something comes of it, honestly. But I have zero faith in Hulk Hogan, as a man who's 60 years old and tries to dress like he's 18 and he lives on the Jersey Shore. And for a guy I've never met, I've formulated enough opinions about him just from being around him and his business acumen and stuff like that. That I really trust that he's not in this for TNA. He's not in this for the business. He's in this for himself. And Hulk Hogan, I hope you prove me wrong. I hope there's competition, because when there's competition, we step up, everybody makes more money, and I think it makes the business healthier. And and that's what I'm looking forward to. But I don't have much hope.
Very well said. I figured you all get a kick out of a little Hulk Hogan bashing. I had to take a little slurp of water, so I figured I'd share that with you. Listen, before we go any further, I wanted to say this Saturday, totally forgot. Wanted to say it Sunday, totally forgot. I made sure that I wasn't going to forget today. Just want to send some best wishes to Dutch Mantel, Zeb Coulter. He's in the hospital right now. Don't know exactly what is wrong with him, but he's got some pretty serious health issues going on. And, it's fun to see his podcast catching on, over the last 6-7 months. And I just wanted to wish him get well. So get well soon to Dutch Mantel. Also, Charlotte Flair, I got a little update for everybody as well. Charlotte Flair got an MRI done today, and we should find out about the results of that MRI within the next day or two. For those that missed my Saturday show, for those on video, if you look on your screen very quickly, I slowed it down a little bit. But Charlotte Flair was in a match on SmackDown Friday against Asuka. And there was still a lot of people out there claiming that she got hurt from doing the moonsault. But if you watch closely during the commercial break, they were on the sitting on the middle rope, and the ropes were very slippery. And if you focus on Charlotte Flair's left leg, just watch what happens when she slips on the ropes. She either hyperextended it really, really badly, or she may have tore something. So she had the MRI today, and we should have an update in the next couple of days. And I don't mean to be a dick, but I got to say it. Big shout out to Mike Johnson. He actually wrote this word for word. I want you to hear this closely. This is an expert journalist saying this. With regards to Charlotte Flair's injury, this is what he said. One sentence. WWE sources, okay? Sources had to tell him this. I swear to you, this is not exaggerated. I'm not on crack right now. He wrote this. WWE sources have indicated that she is not expected back in the ring until she is completely evaluated medically. His sources tell him they're not letting her back in the ring until she's checked out. Is that news, or is that like the dumbest common sense around? That's like why would you even write that? My sources tell me that WWE will not allow her in the ring until she's medically checked out. I swear, sometimes I think I'm on fucking a different planet. All right, that's legit. By the way, let me just quickly tell you, as far as the trademark issue with Jey Uso, that's been resolved. This guy right here, all right, his name is Casey Huffman. He's an indie wrestler from West Virginia, and back in 2021, he filed for a trademark to use the term yeet on wrestling merchandise. This is actual shirts that he is selling at the Pro Wrestling Tees store right now. Now, unfortunately for a lot of news sites out there, and I'm sorry, but I'll just say it, it's not only do they not have experience in trademarking anything, they never bothered to research on how you trademark something. He did not own the trademark since 2021. This is what happened with Casey Huffman. He filed for the trademark for yeet to use it on merchandise. Now, I invite any of you out there, this is not name dropping me, but if you want to see a great example of this, go on the U.S. trademark website and search ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling. If you search the trademark for ECW, you will see my name. You will see back in 2005, I believe, I owned the trademark. I owned it. It was in force. And then what happened was Todd Gordon tried to sue me because he wanted the trademark. How I got the trademark is that he used to have it. He used to have it, and he abandoned it. And when he abandoned it, he gave up the rights. So I grabbed it. And the only reason why I grabbed it was because I was going to do the bus trips for the ECW reunion show, Hardcore Homecoming. I was doing the bus trips for that, and I wanted to advertise it as an ECW reunion show, and WWE was trying to sue me at the time. I put the legal letters online before. So I said, okay, let me trademark ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling, and then I could say it. And when I trademarked it, I went to WWE and said, could I use this? And they're like, yeah, you could use it. And then Todd Gordon tried to sue me. And I was like, you know what, it ain't worth it. And I gave it up. So now, the reason why I say look up mine is because if you look on the paragraph of why I wanted to trademark it, it was going to be for merchandise, and it was also going to be for events. The description is very detailed. It's like 7-8 sentences long. And I did some research, and I saw how WWE was able to trademark things, how MLW at the time was able to trademark things, how other companies were able to trademark things. So I basically wrote it up the same way. This guy, Casey Huffman, though, did not bother to look to see how other wrestling companies successfully trademark. And if you look at his description of why he wanted to trademark it, it was like 2 sentences long. So what happened? The U.S. trademark company said, the United States Trademark Organization, whatever it is, told him, your trademark application is suspended, because he had to either explain it a little bit more detailed, or he had to refine his application. And guess what? Either he never did it, or they never reviewed it yet. So his trademark had been suspended for quite some time. I think as late as 2022. So when WWE went to trademark yeet for wrestling merchandise, they saw that this guy, Casey Huffman, had also applied for the trademark. And what happened was the U.S. Trademark Organization, they went back to WWE and said, this is suspended. We have to check and make sure that this guy has either just not followed up, didn't, take care of whatever he took care of. Because look, if WWE trademarked it, and then you find out that he was in the pipeline to get his paperwork completed, there could be a legit lawsuit here. So when people out there saying that he raked in a whole bunch of bucks off of this, if you actually research this a little bit more, I won't be surprised if you find out he got a goose egg, because his trademark was suspended. And it was suspended because he didn't do enough research on how to trademark something. And for the last 2 years, he's been selling Yeet on Pro Wrestling Tees, and who's going to challenge it? Really? Who's going to challenge him? Nobody. So that's what happened. So for anybody out there that wants the actual story, that's the story. But seriously, if you go look at my trademark, look at what I wrote underneath. I even drew a logo to just make sure that I covered every base, and I got it approved. I paid the money, and I had the trademark. Okay, I think we are done with some wrestling news. Let's talk a little bit about Raw. And by the way, I just wanted to mention this too. For all you Sami Zayn fans out there, today is the 9-year anniversary. I know nobody talked about it online, but today is the 9-year anniversary that Sami Zayn won the NXT championship at NXT Revolution. Also today, 9 years, same event, Kevin Owens made his NXT debut. Pretty amazing that it's already been 9 years ago. 9 years ago today. All right. Oh, I do have one more thing. Let me quickly give you a rating. Just one for today, CM Punk. A tale of two promos. The night he made his debut on Raw, or his return on Raw, I should say, and the night he made his return on SmackDown. On Raw, it was the day after Survivor Series. On SmackDown, it was the tribute to the troops. When CM Punk cut his promo on Raw, granted, they made us wait 2 hours and 55 minutes to hear it. That rating for his promo did 1,769,000 viewers. Not bad for the final part of Raw, but still an underwhelming number. And I've said this many times, and be prepared for it, guys. The ratings will fall in line to what they've been doing this year when CM Punk is on a regular basis. You know, you're going to have people in the near future, especially hardcore AEW fans, are going to say, oh, look, CM Punk was on and the rating is back to what it was before he was even there. Why even have him there? Same thing happened with Cody Rhodes, because fans are not going to tune in for any one person unless there's something big going down or unless that person's name is Roman Reigns. So Cody Rhodes, about a month after he was back in the WWE, ratings went back down to what they were before he even returned. And the same thing is going to happen with CM Punk. Be prepared for it. Unless the overall product is just that much better that they are just consistently scoring better numbers. But the night that CM Punk came back on Raw, his promo did 1,769,000 viewers. This past Friday on SmackDown, a tribute to the troops, when he had that mic for an extended period of time, his rating was 2,469,000 viewers. 700,000 viewers more tuned in for CM Punk's promo at Tribute to the Troops compared to Raw. Yes, one was at 10:55 and the other one was at 9:55, or 8:55, I should say. Big difference. And yes, one is cable and one is regular TV, but still, for those out there that were curious what the rating was with Raw compared to SmackDown for CM Punk, 700,000 viewership change. So tonight on Raw. Oh, actually, we do have one more thing. As we predicted, Carmelo Hayes will be the person to take on Grayson Waller on Friday SmackDown in the United States #1 Contenders tournament. Very interesting that they chose him, because I don't see him beating Grayson Waller. And it kind of makes things even more interesting because people want Carmelo Hayes to be the one to have attacked Trick Williams. And, you know, WWE is really, really milking this shit. You know, it's starting to turn into kind of like the devil storyline. Like, I'm kind of tired. Just reveal the motherfucker already. But Carmelo Hayes as a babyface has sucked. We've talked about it with the ratings. It sucks. He's not meant to be this clean-cut, you know, babyface role model. He's supposed to be an arrogant, too good-looking fucking wrestler. You just want to take that weird nose about him and just twist it upside down. He's got a weird nose. I don't know if anybody noticed that with Carmelo Hayes. Just something about his nose that just looks weird. It looks like, you know, if you had Mr. Potato Head and you lost the nose and you went to the store, you went to Toys R Us, and they didn't have the Mr. Potato Head, but they had Mr. Schmuck Head instead, and you're like, oh, the nose is not actually the same, but let me just put it on the head anyway. I'm telling you, it looks like he had a nose transplant. I don't know what's wrong with it, but Carmella Hayes will be taking on Grayson Waller on Friday. So let's talk about Raw a little bit. Raw opens up tonight with Jey Uso. And there's Yeet signs everywhere, and everybody's excited. You know, Yeet is returned. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of tired of the sign already, but we get Jey Uso in the ring. Now, you know, what was interesting about it was he was, when he came out, he was announced for the match. You know, the following contest is scheduled for, and, you know, he still had to cut a promo. So, you know, we were having a match, but he still had to cut the promo. It wasn't where he cut a promo, then had the confrontation, then, the match came in. So they announced it for the match, but then he started cutting a promo, and Jey Uso's out there, and, you know, he's livening up the crowd, and he's basically saying to everyone that if you want CM Punk on Raw, give me a yeet. Give me a yeet. And everybody goes, yeet. And he said, you know, CM Punk on Raw, that's a good one. But last week, we also lost a good one in Sami Zayn at the hands of Drew McIntyre. And he starts ragging on Drew McIntyre a little bit, and this leads to Drew McIntyre coming out. Drew McIntyre hits the ring, and Drew McIntyre is saying to Jey Uso, enough with the arse kicking. Enough with the arse kissing. Not arse kicking. The ass kissing. He just couldn't say ass on TV. He says Nick Aldis could have CM Punk. Nobody wants to have CM Punk on Raw. He destroys locker rooms. I know him well. I traveled the world with him, and I'm telling the truth. But then Drew McIntyre says to Jey Uso, you know, maybe I went a little bit overboard with Sammy. And he apologizes. And then he says, you see, Jay, that's how you apologize. And then Drew asks Cleveland, what would happen if somebody hurt one of your family members? Wouldn't you want revenge? The crowd is a little bit mixed, which was a little goofy. But then he says, what happens if a person never apologized? And some people agreed with him. And he said, you know, for those that agreed, the truth will set some of you free. But then he starts ragging on some random fan named Austin. He's like, your family don't care about you. And then Jey Uso interrupts Drew. And he says that Drew can't dance. And he wants to give Drew a yeet down. So we get a brawl. And the brawl kind of reminded us of Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn last week. They let these guys go about 12 minutes. And the match back and forth, everybody was into it. At one point, Drew McIntyre went for a Claymore outside the ring onto the commentator's table, but Jey moves out of the way, and Drew looked like he landed awkwardly. People a little bit concerned, but luckily he was okay. We go to commercial, we come back, and we have Jey Uso. You know, he's on the top rope, sitting on the top rope, blocks the superplex, but Drew still flips him over, gets him off the top rope. Drew goes and gets the upper hand, goes for the Claymore once again. But numerous times, Drew McIntyre went for the Claymore and Jey Uso got out of dodge. At one point, Jey Uso goes for the frog splash. Drew gets the knees up. He hits a future shock DDT for a 2 count, and Drew looks shocked. And the crowd is starting to get into it. You're starting to get, this is awesome chants. Drew McIntyre removes the top turnbuckle. And that would come into play towards the end of the match. So he removes the top turnbuckle, goes for another Claymore, but Jey Uso turns it into a spear and spears Drew McIntyre. He immediately climbs the top rope once again. And unfortunately, the referee gets distracted. He sees the turnbuckle removed. And then what ends up happening is Drew McIntyre grabs Jey Uso. Great visual. Simulating that he has the thumb in the eye of Jey Uso. And it looked good. Jey Uso, I have a screenshot on there right now. Thumb to the eye. And Jey Uso can't see. He gets up. Drew hits the Claymore and gets the win. Drew McIntyre pins Jey Uso, and Michael Cole is just livid at the behavior and the ruthlessness of Drew McIntyre. And when we get to the end of Raw tonight with Shinsuke with the mist, oh my God, suddenly the mist is like battery acid. But if you remember last week's show, we were hoping that Cody and Shinsuke would end with a bullshit finish because we want more. We did not want that to be settled tonight. So Drew McIntyre gets the win, and we then get a little highlight video package of CM Punk's appearance on SmackDown. It kept in that little dig towards Jack Perry, adding a little bit of screenshots of CM Punk laughing at it. And yes, not everybody in the WWE universe knew about the backstage incident. Not everybody is on social media. Plus, there was a lot of troops there and a lot of kids there that probably aren't the biggest, deepest wrestling fans and probably aren't fans of CM Punk. But they chant because everybody else is chanting. So now we get an awesome promo by Shinsuke Nakamura. And, if you followed Shinsuke's promos with Seth Rollins and now with Cody Rhodes, you know what you're going to get. And I love, and it's kind of bizarre. It's kind of bizarre to look back decades in wrestling, especially in the WWE, and that they would not just allow wrestlers to talk in their native language, Japanese especially. Like, you look back to Kenzo Suzuki, you look back to Tajiri, you look back to Taka Michinoku, you look back to anybody you want. Like, you never saw WWE just letting them talk in their native language and just put subtitles underneath. You would get like Taka Michinoku that would say something in Japanese, and then he would say, "You jackass!" Shinsuke talking in Japanese in the subtitles. It hit me today. You know why that is so spectacular? Because since almost every single one of you and me do not understand Japanese, when Shinsuke is talking, we are forced to look at the screen. Something that's so common sense, it never hit me like that until today. I'm watching it and I'm like, why didn't they do that all these years? Because when you talk in a different language, if you subtitle it, we're forced to watch it to see what the fuck he is saying. And tonight, he kind of got a little bit of the Xia Li treatment. Because we're getting cartoon graphics on the screen. Sorry, Jay. Sorry, Drew. We have to take you down. And whoever drew this, fucking phenomenal. Shinsuke saying that Cody, remember you always asked for this. And Shinsuke Nakamura has been reborn, and just everything about it. He wrote here, "You are a dog chasing a car," and this one where he spits the mist. I mean, this is great shit. It reminded me of the Xia Li promos. Remember with the bad landlord? But this was great. This was great. And I know not everybody out there has warmed up yet to Shinsuke Nakamura. Is he a main eventer? For the right card, yes. But, is he winning championships anytime soon? No. But when you also look at who is champions right now, there's a giant roster out there that are not going to be champions anytime soon either. When you look at LA Knight, and you look at Randy Orton, and you look at Sami Zayn, you look at Kevin Owens, you look at Rey Mysterio, you just go down the line. There's a boatload of people that have no chance of becoming a champion right now. So Shinsuke, in his warped mind, feeling like he's reborn. Cody does an interview with Jackie Redmond later on. He's like, I didn't ask for this, but he's not going to back down either. So excellent shit with Shinsuke Nakamura. Now we talk about the Judgment Day, because the Judgment Day, the cracks are starting to get worse. Tonight, Damian Priest almost almost went off on Rhea Ripley, and she cut him off. And you could see that you could see where this may be going, where either Damian Priest is just fed up, he wants out, or he's going to say something really, really horrible to Rhea Ripley, and everybody in Judgment Day is going to beat the balls out of Damian Priest. But we get a backstage segment, and I'm not going to lie, it started off a little bit goofy. You know, Finn is saying, Rhea and I are away for only 1 week, and the wheels are falling off. And basically they're talking about the fact that R-Truth has been able to get into their locker room, you know, for the last couple of weeks. He's breaking into the locker room. Like, that's the first thing you talk about. And then Rhea Ripley brings up how Dominic and JD McDonough lost to the Creed brothers recently. And then Dominic at NXT Deadline, as we all expected, lost the NXT North American Championship to Dragon Lee. And then Damian Priest pops up in the picture. Damian Priest looks at Dominic Mysterio and says, you losing the NXT title sucks. But you know what also sucks? People not showing up to Raw. And Rhea Ripley, you know, is, you know, getting a little bit upset. And Damian Priest says to Finn, you know, we have to handle Judgment Day business, especially with the Creed brothers. And Rhea Ripley says to Damian Priest that being a leader is much more than just saying you're a leader. And the minute she went there about him proclaiming himself leader of Judgment Day, Damian Priest, he fucking snaps like, you know, I'm kind of, and she just cuts him off, and she's like, no, I'm talking about everybody in Judgment Day. And he backs off a little bit. And Finn Balor, yes, I didn't even notice that. Look at Jada McDonough as well. Jada McDonough's like, oh, Finn Balor's like, oh, that's a great visual. I did not notice that. Props to all of you noticed that. He just went, Finn Balor looks like he's about to bust out laughing. But I actually got a kick out of it because when Rhea Ripley said that she's going to take care of Judgment Day business tonight, I'm a fan of Maxxine Dupri. But when you have this big argument about Judgment Day falling apart, JD McDonough and Dominic lose to the Creeds. Dominic loses the NXT North American Championship. Finn Balor and Damian Priest are concerned about the Creeds. And Rhea Ripley mocks about the leader thing. And after all of that, she says, I'm going to take care of Judgment Day business tonight by taking care of Maxxine Dupri. I mean, that's taking care of Judgment Day business? Setting an example for Maxxine Dupri? That's like, what I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what that's like? I'll use a wrestling reference. Anybody that's ECW loyalist, you'll remember this. I'll never forget one night with Tommy Rich. Anybody remember Tommy Rich? Tommy Rich in ECW was a member of the Full-Blooded Italians. Tommy Rich is the farthest of an Italian Guido, unless he was, you know, different color. I mean, let's be honest. Tommy Rich is not Italian. So Tommy Rich, when he was in the Full-Blooded Italians, one time he cut a promo and he said, I'm going to go get some Italian food. Let's go to Domino's. And it's like, you're hyping up that you're Italian and everything. And it's like, I'm going to go get some real Italian food. I'm going to go to Domino's. You know, it's like her. She's like, I'm going to take care of Judgment Day business tonight. I'm going to beat Maxxine Dupri. That's how I kind of felt by it. So then we get a segment in the back. We get the first Creed Brothers appearance tonight. They're in the back with the Alpha Academy, and R-Truth shows up with a roll of Christmas lights. And R-Truth is going to decorate the Judgment Day's locker room. And Chad Gable is concerned. He goes to R-Truth and he's like, look, I hate to break it to you, but you're not in the Judgment Day, and please be careful. They are very, very dangerous. And R-Truth says they're misunderstood, and he wishes everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And if you caught it I laughed my ass off. When he said Happy Thanksgiving, Otis says to R-Truth, he's like, make sure you save me some turkey. Save me some he just went along with it as well. It's obviously not Thanksgiving. We're now Christmas time. But, Ivy Nile is now aligned with Maxxine Dupri. Could they be a future tag team? Yeah, maybe on a regular basis. But tonight was a little bit more than just, possibility of forming a tag team. Yesterday, we had a discussion about Rhea Ripley. By the way, big shout out to SoFly. SoFly, I don't know if you emailed me or DM'd me yet, but you got 50 spot waiting for you. You won the predictions contest for Survivor Series. So let me know if you did. He says, looked like Maxxine Dupri was sandbagging Rhea tonight. Wonder if she was irritated. No, I actually don't think so at all. I think it was more just nerves than anything else. You step in the ring with Rhea Ripley. Maxxine Dupri is not, look, is she one of the top wrestlers in the women's division? No. But that is a lot of pressure to go in there with Rhea Ripley. It's not just taking a beating. She got a little bit of offense in, and, the announcers made note of that. But you also got to understand that some of these women have to have some offense on Rhea Ripley, and I'll tell you why. We had this conversation yesterday, and I'm going to do a poll in the very near future. This is not a shot on Rhea Ripley at all. But, we were talking about it last night. I think Rhea Ripley's championship reign has been underwhelming, and it's WWE Creative's fault. Like, you look back at what she has done, and her crown jewel might have been her best match. And you had 5 people that were in that match. And now she's having a match with Maxxine Dupri. And she has the match with Maxxine Dupri. And, she is, taking a little bit of offense from Maxxine Dupri. But as the match went on, she's trolling Maxxine a little bit. She had the opportunity to beat her a couple of times. And then ultimately, she locks on submission. Maxxine Dupri taps out. She won't let go of the move. So Ivy Nile, who happened to be at ringside, hits the ring to make the save. And what happens? We get a stare down. Ivy Nile and Rhea Ripley. Ivy Nile is great. I am a fan of Ivy Nile. I've been praising the shit out of her from NXT days. But when you look at Rhea Ripley, it seems, I'm sorry for saying this, but I got to say it. It seems like somebody turned the ladder upside down. Like, you would think she'd be beating Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae, Ivy Nile, Maxxine Dupri, and then working her way up to Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, then getting to Becky Lynch, going that way. Now it seems like they're digressing. Like, who's next? Like, who's next is she going to face? Is there Nikki Cross? Is Nikki Cross next? I mean, seriously, and she's going to just stand there as a zombie, and Rhea Ripley's going to kind of what am I supposed to do? She's just standing there like she's a vegetable. Do I hit her? Do I just push her over? Do I just lay her on the floor and just pin her? It just feels like it's going backwards. And no, I don't think Jade Cargill is next. I think Jade Cargill, but then again, you want to know something? Jade Cargill and what she does at WrestleMania is good to fall not only on her training progress, but what Charlotte Flair's injury actually is. If Charlotte Flair just hyperextended her knee or her leg, she didn't tear anything, I think Charlotte Flair has an 100% chance of returning for Mania way before that. But if Charlotte Flair tore ligaments, Charlotte Flair's done for WrestleMania. Now you got to say to yourself, who do you put Jade Cargill against? I know some of you are going to say Bianca Belair right away. And I don't mean to be insulting about it, but you have to put someone who physically is similar in size to Jade Cargill off the bat. Unless Jade Cargill comes in as a heel and she kind of mocks the size of a Bianca Belair or somebody else, you want somebody on the opposite side that is almost like Jade Cargill's equal. And believe it or not, even though Rhea Ripley is not as tall as people perceive her to be, Rhea Ripley, the way she looks and the way she dresses and the shape that she is in, you put Rhea Ripley side by side with Jade Cargill, I think people would chant, holy shit. I think people would really get into that. I think it's all going to depend on what the outcome is with Charlotte Flair's MRI. But we get the stare down with Rhea Ripley and Ivy Niles. So that match obviously is going to be coming up in the very near future. So next, another video package I talked about a couple of times with Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, that 95% of it is them at a theme park and dancing. They actually showed the fucking promo today on Raw. But you got to understand something. You know, for younger wrestling fans out there, they're appealing. They're likable. They're talented. They're attractive. You know, there's everything about them rubs off the right way for younger fans out there. You know, and I'm not saying like older fans cannot be fans of them either. But for WWE, their video package is more about going to theme parks and partying and rave parties and stuff like that. And, you know, not focusing so much as far as wrestling ability goes. But they did show that package tonight. And later on in the night, we did have Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. They beat Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. And you had Chelsea Green and Piper Niven at ringside. And after the match is over, you know, they had a little bit of a stare down. And we find out that next week on Raw, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance are getting a title shot against Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. I'll say this. I think Katana Chance and Kaden Carter have a better chance of becoming women's tag team champions next week than Creed Brothers. I think the Creed Brothers will come so close. I mean, I would fucking pop big if they won the tag titles next week. But, you know, going into the new year, you know, like we're still a ways away from the Rumble. I don't know if that would be a good thing to do. I think, you know, maybe somebody's interference. Maybe Rhea Ripley has to bail out Finn Balor and Damian Priest again. Then maybe because she bailed them out, the following week, Rhea Ripley could kind of rub it in Damian Priest's face that if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have those belts right now. And then maybe the next time Damian Priest says, I don't want you, I don't need any of you out there. And then he causes the loss, similar to War Games. That's a possible scenario. But they're getting the title shot next week. So, you know, we'll see what happens. We got 2 title shots next week, obviously. Now, I know I'm going a little out of place because we'll save CM Punk and Seth Rollins for last because we already had a pretty long discussion about it, but we'll get into the specifics. If I had time tonight, I would have downloaded the whole promo and shared the audio here. But we'll dissect it, and I'll give you some comments about a few things that were said on both sides tonight. But a couple other things that happened tonight. Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, a little bit of a confrontation. A lot of us thought they were going to have a match tonight, but that ended up not happening. Becky Lynch hits the ring, and she wants Nia Jax. And, you know, Nia, she's throwing some insults about, you know, like her being fired and nobody, not even her cousins, going to bat for her. And Nia Jax comes out there, and she's been the most dominant woman since she's been back. And Becky just wants a fight. And she's even, you know, saying, you know, you have the first shot. She's pointed to her face. Go ahead, have the first shot. And Nia Jax is like, you need this more than I do. So she backs off. See, that was the right way to do it. Not the way they did it with Xia Li. I know there's no championship around Becky's waist right now, but, you know, Nia Jax comes off more as afraid. You know, like Nia Jax was answering Becky. Nia didn't hit the ring first, challenge Becky, and then Becky says, here, right here, go hit me. And she says, on my time. Remember that scenario? Xia Li is the one that called out Becky. And then Becky's like, all right, any place, any time. And Xia Li's like, you know, on my time. And you see what happened. She had that one match. She had a good match, but she blew it. She had the match with Lyra Vacaria. And now you see Xia Li is back on the milk carton. kind of saw that happening. By the way, where's Dexter Lumis? The Dexter Lumis watch is still going on. It's still going on. Imperium tonight. We were going to have a 6-man tag, and it was the worst kept secret. They're in Cleveland, Ohio. Johnny Gargano's from Cleveland. So is another wrestler. Is Logan Paul from Cleveland? I think he is. So we're getting a 6-man tag tonight. It's Imperium. Giovanni Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser, and Gunther taking on DIY and a mystery tag partner. Now, we knew who the mystery partner was, if you saw my preview for tonight. But, you know, it's goofy because you have Imperium, you know, they're in the back, and Ludwig Kaiser's like, who did you get to be your tag partner tonight? Like, who could you have possibly get? And we all know it's going to be The Miz. So Gunther is like looking, he's curious who it's going to be. These guys have no fucking clue. And, you know, Ciampa is saying, I don't like him. We didn't know on TV there was The Miz as of yet, but Ciampa's going to Gargano. He's like, I don't like him. Can we trust him? Can we trust him? So Imperium hits the ring, and Gargano and Ciampa come out, and then Miz's music hits. And Ciampa's got this look on his face like, I don't know about this. And Johnny Gargano's like, I don't know. By the way, how awesome is what Gargano does at the toy stores, guys? Do you all know by now what he does? I know, listen, I'm not trying to hurt the guy's feelings. You know, it's Johnny Gargano. It's not Roman Reigns doing this. But Johnny Gargano, for people that don't know, Johnny Gargano goes to like Walmarts, and he goes to toy stores. And when he occasionally finds his figure on the shelf, he'll take out a Sharpie, he'll actually autograph it and put a little note on the box and then hide it, like behind like a couple other figures. And some kid, you know, ultimately gets surprised. I got to just start checking eBay to see if anybody's found one and said, look what I found at Walmart. And look, it even comes with a certificate of authenticity from Johnny himself. But that's cool, man. Little things like that is awesome. Seriously. But we get the 6-man tag tonight, and fun, typical Raw match. But this does lead to a championship match with an interesting stipulation. Towards the end of the match, The Miz had the figure 4 on Gunther. Johnny Gargano had his version of the figure 4 on Ludwig Kaiser. He had the Gargano escape on Ludwig Kaiser. So Giovanni Vinci hits the ring and breaks it up. So then what ends up happening is Giovanni Vinci. Now think of the last bunch of weeks where it came off that Gunther was favoring Vinci. So you would think tonight maybe Vinci should be in the Gargano lock, and Kaiser breaks it up, and then Kaiser ultimately eats the skull-crushing finale. But we got the opposite today. Kaiser is in the Gargano escape. Gunther is in the figure 4. Vinci hits the ring, breaks everything up. Vinci ends up going at it. He becomes the legal man, and Miz hits the skull-crushing finale on Giovanni Vinci. So the winners, DIY and The Miz. Cleveland, loving the match, because obviously Gargano, that's his home, and Miz's home as well. And then a little bit later on, Gunther, very annoyed backstage as far as what happened, and he gets confronted by The Miz once again. And Gunther's like, what do you want? And Miz is like, I want one more shot at the title. And Gunther looks at Miz and says, I will grant you one more shot at this prestige championship, but on one condition. If you lose, you can never challenge for the Intercontinental Championship as long as I am champion. And Miz accepts. Now, we do not know when this match will take place. My guess is January 1st. I think January 1st would be the likely time. Listen, that's New Year's Day. It's a holiday, obviously. but it's a Monday night, and, they're going to hype it up for a big night. And remember, Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre will be fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship that night. And, if the everything aligns, the stars align, Drew McIntyre will walk out of there as your World Heavyweight Champion. I really think that should happen. So maybe not. Somebody mentioned Johnny Gargano. Thank you, Theme Parks with Johnny. Thank you for the 2-spot. He says Johnny did the Cleveland Browns game as well. Yeah, Johnny, I believe, lives in Florida now, but Johnny loves Cleveland. He is homegrown in Cleveland, and I know he's, doesn't pop ratings. When we do the weekend ratings, I don't hide it, to cover up people that I like. But, more times than not, Johnny Gargano's part of the lowest ratings of Raw. Consistently. Him and, Ciampa at times. So, last show with the Gauntlet, their match with Indus Sher was the lowest of the night. And it picked up when the Creed brothers got involved. And then the Creed brothers ran with it and got momentum. And then the ratings ended up getting pretty good out of that. So, I'll get into some more shout-outs in a little bit. I just want to finish up Raw because, believe it or not, we're already at 80 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. We got a segment with the Judgment Day and R-Truth in the ring. I'm waiting for Drew McIntyre to beat up R-Truth. I think that's coming. But we get a segment in the ring with the Judgment Day. Judgment Day hit the ring minus Rhea Ripley, by the way. And Damian Priest is in the ring, and he's pissed off, and he's telling everybody to all rise. And he says that people seem to have forgotten that the Judgment Day run Monday Night Raw. And lo and behold, R-Truth comes out. Now, Damian Priest reads a little bit of the Riot Act before R-Truth comes out. Finn Balor kind of like with a corny phrase. I think he said something like, when we come to your town, we'll put everybody down. It was just like, you could tell that somebody fed him that line. Before Dominic could say anything, R-Truth's music hits, and R-Truth hits the ring. And did anybody pick up on it? Did anybody pick up on R-Truth actually using logic tonight, making sense? Damian Priest looked like he was losing it at one point. Finn Balor, you look at his face, Finn Balor, you could see he kind of wants to laugh. Dominic Mysterio keeps the poker face. But R-Truth gets on the mic, and he's talking logic. He says first that he thinks that JD McDonough should be kicked out of the Judgment Day, and everybody is cheering for it. Then he looks at Damian Priest, and he says, Priest, DP, he said, you should not be calling yourself the boss. And R-Truth says, no, I like you as the boss, but every time you call yourself the boss, Rhea gets mad. So R-Truth is, telling truths. He actually is making sense tonight. So Damian Priest gets the mic, and Damian Priest says, everybody loves R-Truth. Finn Balor, I think he said, I like him. I don't remember if Dom said he liked him. I don't think he did. But, Damian Priest on the mic. Everybody, all of you all love R-Truth. Well, I don't. And he clotheslines R-Truth. And just as the Judgment Day is starting to beat the crap out of R-Truth, here comes the Creed brothers. Make the save, throw Dominic out of the ring, get rid of JD, and then they start wailing on Finn Balor and Damian Priest. They retreat, and this is obviously to set up the tag title match for next week. But the Creed brothers once again making an appearance. But I still, it was pretty cool to see R-Truth, and again, kind of made sense tonight of what he was saying. As I said earlier, Bronson Reed beat Ivar. This did not brawl into the crowd. You would have thought that these guys hated each other so much after what they did the last match that they would immediately want to brawl into the crowd. But they kept it in the ring, and Bronson Reed hits the superplex and gets the pin. And, unfortunately, like I said before, the smoke and mirrors with Ivar continues. Just look it up and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I guess if people don't pick up on it, maybe that's a good thing, right? If you don't realize that he's losing every match pretty much, if you don't realize it and you think that he's still getting a push, maybe they're doing the right thing. I don't know. All right, so this leaves us the CM Punk confrontation, Shinsuke Nakamura, Cody Rhodes. And we'll mention the CM Punk backstage segments as well. The thing he did with Kofi was pretty funny. There was something that he said towards the very end. I didn't rewind it, but I'm pretty sure I wrote down correctly what he said, which was pretty funny. But let's first just mention the main event. Because, just to be honest, Cody Rhodes and Shinsuke Nakamura was your typical Raw main event. It went 15 minutes. We had 2 commercial breaks. Typical Nakamura offense, typical Cody offense. We're wondering if anybody's going to interfere in the match, but as we said last week, we hope, very rare that we hope things like this, but we hoped it ended in a clusterfuck, because then it means it's to be continued. That's why if you saw my preview for tonight's show, I wrote this morning that they accomplished nothing, because I was pretty confident that the match would end up with really no winner, technically, and it would continue even further, going to close out 2023. So they have a great match. Cody Rhodes starts getting the upper hand towards the end, and Cody goes for his finisher, and here comes Shinsuke Nakamura with the mist. Spits the mist in Cody Rhodes' face. The referee calls for the disqualification. And, the reason why I didn't like the mist as the DQ finish is because we see Shinsuke spitting mist all the time. We see Asuka spitting mist all the time. When Asuka spit the mist, if I remember correctly, was it in Saudi Arabia that she did it? And which event was it where Bianca was blinded? And she's screaming, and, apparently Asuka used some extra shit to spit in her face. I think it was Saudi Arabia, wasn't it? She spit the mist in Bianca's face, and Bianca, Night of Champions? Yeah, okay, Night of Champions. So, on a rare occasion, like, if you're going to spit toxic mist, why would you not spit toxic mist? Like every match. It's like when we want to call a DQ finish, this week it's toxic. But when Nakamura was a baby face and Nakamura would spit the mist once in a while, Michael Cole would almost laugh at it. It was comedy, spitting the mist in somebody's face. You'd have red in the person's face, and they look goofy, and it's almost like an enjoyable time. I can imagine all the little kids at home wanting to get the food coloring, say, "Mommy, come here." What? And spit right in the mother's face. I would do that. So tonight he spits the mist, and Cody tries crossroads, and Shinsuke fucks it up, spits the mist, gets disqualified. And Cody's writhing in pain. The toxic mist. This week it's toxic. And Shinsuke wants to beat down on Cody a little bit more. And as we said earlier, so they can make another appearance, here comes the Creed brothers to make the save. Why is Mr. Bean, are they throwing the towel out the ring, or is somebody throwing it to him? I think maybe somebody's throwing it to him. Doesn't look like Mr. Bean is throwing a towel out of the ring, but the Creed brothers make the save. And, we think that we're going off the air like this, but no, here comes Shinsuke once again, chicken shit heel, as he is now. He attacks Cody once again, hits the Kinshasa, and the crowd is booing the fuck out of Shinsuke. And he's happy, and we go off the air. So this feud will continue. So, yeah, thank you. Everybody said he was catching the towel. Yeah, on the picture, it looks like he's throwing it out of the ring, but I wasn't focused on the towel before. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. The Creeds are making a save. They really want these fans to love the Creeds. They saved R-Truth, and they saved Cody Rhodes. Well, actually, they didn't save Cody. Cody still ate a Kinshasa after it was over. So, but, it was a fun main event. But honestly, I think once the CM Punk Seth Rollins segment concurred, I think we're going to see a 200,000 to 300,000 viewership drop towards the end of the night. I think from that point, there's going to be, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we're 300,000 viewers plus lower by the time they did Cody and Nakamura from the confrontation with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Because the main events, the tag title match, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, and Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title. The first half of the match was the lowest rating of the night when we did the weekend ratings last week. I mean, that sucks. You would think main event Uso and Seth Rollins. Still. All right. So we wrap up today's show, just filling in the blanks with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. We find out at the beginning of hour number 2, 8:59 p.m., that CM Punk is going to go out there and address if he's going to sign with Raw, NXT, or SmackDown. Adam Pearce knocks on CM Punk's door, and unfortunately, guys, what I feared with Nick Aldis ended up happening tonight. You look at Randy Orton 2 weeks ago. Randy Orton, we don't know if he's going to sign with Raw or SmackDown. So Adam Pearce in storyline makes the trip to SmackDown. So when Randy Orton's in the ring to make his decision, you have Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis out there. Randy Orton is so important to sign for Raw that Adam Pearce made the trip to SmackDown, try to convince Randy, come to Raw. I'll give you the World Heavyweight Championship shot. The winner of Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. But CM Punk is so important for SmackDown in storyline, they do not have Nick Aldis show up on Raw tonight. I think that was a misfire on WWE's part. But obviously, the reason why they did not do that was because signing the contract was the smallest part of what would go down. CM Punk hits the ring, and CM Punk says, I have a decision to make. We have a decision to make. And he starts talking about Cleveland. And he says, this town, this building has not been very kind to me in the past. And the crowd doesn't know necessarily how to react to that. And he mentions that he debuted in that building. He name drops Mickie James. He said that Mickie James came down to the ring with him. And he did so good that after the match was over, WWE told him that he was going to go to Ohio Valley Wrestling. So obviously that was a negative, guys. It didn't sound negative, but he wanted to be on that main roster, and WWE sent him to OVW. Then he came back to Cleveland as the World Heavyweight Champion. And it's funny because we just had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. And it was the pay-per-view. He walked into Cleveland as a World Heavyweight Champion. Randy Orton kicks him in the head. And because of that, he could not compete. He was stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship. And that happened in Cleveland. Unforgiven 2008. Thank you, Charlie. Then he brings up that, he walked out of the WWE. And he says, 10 years ago, I may have made the biggest decision of my life, for better or for worse. Then he starts talking about when he left, he thought about the fans that he walked out on, and he brought up the story with Indy Hartwell, that when CM Punk walked out 10 years ago, that she was crushed by it, and he said that he had that same feeling when he saw Roddy Piper in WCW. And today, he apologized to the fans, and the apology sounded sincere. Then he mentions Nick Aldis's deal. He mentions hanging out with Shawn Michaels, the 15-year-old CM Punk was with Shawn Michaels because he's been a lifer as a fan of HBK. And he decides, without any real drama to it, that I am here to bury those ghosts in Cleveland. My future starts today. Nearly 10 years to the day that I walked out, I walked back in. And whether you like me or you don't like me, learn to live with it. I am the newest Raw superstar. The newest Raw superstar is CM Punk, and CM Punk is home. That's exactly how he said it. He signed the contract, shook the hand of Adam Pearce, and then CM Punk is interrupted by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins' music hits. He hits the ring. And because of the censors, we have holy shit. Crowd is fucking getting into it. And at first, we have nothing but a stare down. These two guys are just staring at each other. Nobody is breaking. Intensity, you could feel it. And at this point, you're wondering, you have an idea of what's going to be said, but you don't know how even this conversation is going to be. So they're staring at each other for a little bit. Crowd is chanting CM Punk. Crowd is serenading Seth Rollins. Now, remember the last words that CM Punk said before Seth's music hit. He said, the newest Raw superstar is CM Punk, and I am home. So after the stare down, CM Punk gets on the mic. First, a little bit of lightheartedness. He says, welcome to Monday Night Rollins. And the whole crowd knew he was going to say Rollins. They did it with him. And they're cheering for him. And he says to CM Punk, he says, I hope you realize how incredibly fortunate you are to be in this ring right now. But please do me one favor. Don't you dare call this home. And crowd pops big for Seth Rollins. And, Seth Rollins, he's getting intense, and CM Punk is just sitting there, taking it. No goofy reactions, no mocking, no downplaying it, no acting not, interested in what Seth Rollins, he's focused on Seth Rollins as well. And Seth Rollins just amps it up a notch. Hey, CM Punk took it up to level 11, on Tribute to the Troops. Well, Seth Rollins brought it up to level 12 tonight. Seth Rollins says, you spent 10 years putting this place down, putting me down, putting everybody in the back down. This is not your home. This is my home. And the crowd starts serenading Seth Rollins even more. Now you're starting to feel like Seth is the babyface in this, and CM Punk is sort of the heel. But CM Punk is not saying a word. Seth Rollins has the mic. CM Punk doesn't ad-lib, doesn't word anything under his breath, just stands there and just allows Seth Rollins to say whatever he wants to say. Seth Rollins continues, and he says, those people in the back, those are my brothers and my sisters. This is my home, and I will do everything in my power to protect it from people like you. I hate you. But if you're going to be part of the WWE again, I want you to be on Monday Night Raw, because this is your last chance. And either you're going to self-destruct like you always do, and I'll be the first to slam the door to shut your legacy. Either you're going to self-destruct like you always do, or if by some miracle you have changed and you have some gas left in that old tank, maybe one day you'll stand in the same ring with me, and I will run circles around you. I will expose you, and I will show to you and to everyone who is the best in the world and what the best in the world is. And now the crowd starts chanting CM Punk. And CM Punk looks at Seth Rollins, and really all he has as a response is, "Are you done? Are you done?" And, you know, it just felt kind of weak. But then CM Punk says to Rollins, he says, "That's your one pass to disrespect me without me coming after you. I've always done things stubbornly. I've always earned it the hard way. I've never asked anything to be handed to me. Adam Pearce, let's make it official. I am entering the Royal Rumble, and when CM Punk wins," he's talking about himself in the third person now. He says, "And when CM Punk wins, it may be you that CM Punk goes after." And he walks off. And CM Punk's music hits as they walk off. And the segment was intense. It felt real. Again, as I said earlier, it is nothing like the exchanges that he had in AEW with Hangman Page or anything else because of the reasons we talked about earlier. But I'm telling you, man, I remember the night that John Cena and The Rock, I remember The Rock with the boots to asses shirt, and Cena was in the ring, and they're hyping up their WrestleMania match, and John Cena went on a fucking roll with The Rock. And then when John Cena exposed that The Rock had all these cheat notes on his arm, and the weird thing about it is, if you look now, high definition TVs wasn't what they are now. It wasn't, I don't think they really have 4K TVs at the time, but there's still good enough quality screenshots out there that you look at Rock's arm and you say, how could you have that amount of notes and people not notice it? But John Cena brought it up, and The Rock was just rattled. You know, one thing you could say, if you have been a wrestling fan for a long time, if you get in the ring, or if we see somebody get in the ring, sometimes when somebody would get in the ring with a CM Punk, or get in the ring with The Rock, or get in the ring with anybody that really, really kills it with promos, choose anybody you want who is a master of promos. Sometimes when you knew somebody was going to feud with someone, you're kind of like drooling. You're like, oh, I can't wait to see how this plays out on TV. And sometimes back in the day when it was somebody confronting The Rock or confronting Cena, believe it or not, I mean, I know now everybody's a big fan of Cena, but back in the day, you know, when Cena, if you did like a rap battle or if he was going to start going off on you, you know, if you didn't bring your A game on the mic, Cena would eat you up. I know people don't remember that, but when he feuded with Miz, when he feuded with JBL, when he feuded with Jinder Mahal, when he feuded with Randy Orton, when people are really that good on the mic, if you're going to have a promo exchange with them, even though you know what you're going to be talking about, even though you know that you might be playing on a little bit of reality, but until you're in that ring, you know, remember what we talked about 2 weeks ago that Triple H does now? There's a lot of people that still don't realize that. Triple H has told the roster, and some people they didn't even need to tell, that if there's an event going on and you're in the back, you're outside, you're in a parking lot, if there's even one fan around that could even possibly have a camera phone, until you are gone, you act as if the camera is still rolling. And that's why Drew McIntyre stormed off of War Games, got into his car and sped away, and people were trying to play it off that he's so incensed that CM Punk returned that he's gone, he's not returning, and blah, 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 blah. And now today, all the clickbait, you know, Fightful reveals that Seth Rollins' contract is set to expire next year. And that is real. But everybody else runs with it. Oh, Tyler Black is going to be all elite. You know, no, they didn't tease that Seth Rollins may not re-sign with the WWE. All they reported was his contract expires next year. And what they're doing now is what they did to Drew McIntyre not too long ago. They want to play off that there is a good chance that Seth Rollins will leave. Why? Why even? Because it just creates conversation. But as long as those cameras, as long as there's people around, you act as if those cameras are rolling. And that's what these guys are doing. And tonight, again, appreciate it, even if you're not the biggest Seth Rollins fan, even if you're not the biggest CM Punk fan. But we're just getting started, guys. We still have the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, the road to WrestleMania, and then WrestleMania. So when you think back at some of these bigger feuds that have gone on, you know, this is going to be nothing compared to what could be happening in the future. Becky Lynch could very well end up getting involved with it. And I know that may not matter that much, but what if it ends up leading to AJ Lee returning? A lot of people want to see AJ Lee back in the WWE. Who knows? Maybe we'll get AJ Lee and Becky Lynch going at it at WrestleMania. Anything is possible. But we just cracked the surface. So if you really enjoyed tonight, could you imagine what is on the horizon? So this was tremendous tonight. I loved it. It felt real. And I think CM Punk will do just fine. I know tonight CM Punk kind of got owned. What do they use now? Cooked. Seth Rollins cooked CM Punk tonight. But you know what? That was the only way to go tonight. Because CM Punk really needed to have his ass handed to him. Verbally. CM Punk did a lot of damage in 10 years. And trust me, I guarantee there's some people at home that despise CM Punk that were just fucking intense with Seth Rollins. Yeah, fucking curse that motherfucker out. Fuck you, fuck you. This should be AEW, right? You know, there are people out there that were just into this. And CM Punk, that's a test. You got to take it and take it and take it and take it. And that's, again, because this is organized. This is planned. They know when they go in the ring that this is what's going to happen. They don't know exactly what words they're going to say, but this is not going to be, you know, Ricky Starks, with all due respect, trying to find something, gets a little brain fart and says, okay, let me go here with Adam Copeland, or vice versa. You know, unfortunately, when you get younger people out there, if you're having a promo back and forth with someone and it's getting intense and you get that fucking brain fog and you're like, oh, you know what? Let me just throw this out there. It's the first thing that comes to mind. And the person you're having the exchange with isn't expecting it. You know, that's where shit goes wrong. I guarantee you CM Punk expected pretty much everything that Seth Rollins said tonight. And you know why? Not trying to put me over or any of you over, but why do we know that? Because almost all of you out there, including me, including a lot of other people, know exactly what's happened with CM Punk over the last 10 years. What Seth Rollins said tonight was true. So when you base it on truths, it just feels that much more real. And we'll see where it goes from here. But it's going to be really interesting in the next month or so to see where this goes. I just want to see when CM Punk's going to have his first match. That's what I want to find out. When does CM Punk have his first match? Will it be a New Year's Day? Probably not. But maybe he'll beat up on Dominic or JD McDonough. You know, you kind of feel like that might be the first way to go. Now, a couple of other incidents just to set the tone for CM Punk. And let me add this before we get out of here. And we'll plug the history show. I didn't forget. A couple of shout outs too. After the promo was done and CM Punk really got his ass handed to him, and deservingly so, WWE did a few more segments with CM Punk tonight to try to calm down the vibe with it. One of the segments, he ran into the Judgment Day. And CM Punk looks at the four guys and he's like, where's Rhea? And Damian Priest welcomes him to Raw. Welcome, Punk. Not as in CM Punk, but you're a punk. And Damian Priest says, I hope you finish the story. I hope you finish your story. Because if you finish your story, I'll be waiting. And he puts the briefcase in CM Punk's face. Just to tease and remind us that CM Punk is a babyface, and the Judgment Day, they don't like CM Punk. To make it a little bit further, CM Punk bumps into Kofi Kingston. Oh, you're making me crazy. And Kofi's like, no, I don't do that anymore over here. And I swear to God, I could have swore I heard CM Punk say to Kofi, you quit video games, did you? Like, you know, like when somebody says you quit alcohol, you quit something else. I could swear he told Kofi something like, you quit video games. You know, like, just, it was just the way it came across. But that big hug between Kofi and CM Punk, and Chad Gable smiling and Ricochet smiling as well. And apparently there's going to be something coming up that might lead to a match involving the IC title. So, you know, just to plant that little seed. But CM Punk interacting with Kofi. Again, these two segments I just showed you happened after the confrontation with Seth Rollins. Calm the air a little bit. Then a little bit later in the night, CM Punk sees Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre, he looks at CM Punk and he's like, I don't care about your story. I don't care about your story. And Adam Pearce reveals to Drew McIntyre that he's getting a World Heavyweight Championship match at January 1st's Raw. So Drew McIntyre, he doesn't like CM Punk. He doesn't care about his story. All he cares is about his own story. Now suddenly everybody has a story, guys. Cody has a story. CM Punk has a story. Drew McIntyre has a story. A lot of people have stories. But they did this confrontation too, to set the tone that Drew McIntyre does not like CM Punk either. So, yeah, my Drew impression, sometimes I nail it, sometimes I don't. When I try too hard, it doesn't come out good. But that's pretty much what we got on Raw tonight. It's going to be remembered, obviously, because of this promo with Seth and CM Punk. And they hit a home run. In the last 72 hours, we had CM Punk's promo on SmackDown and tonight on Raw. And there was no match involved. No wrestling. I mean, that just goes to show you sometimes, you know, some of the, you know, most must-see moments in wrestling have nothing to do with a match. Can't always be about a 5-star match, a clusterfuck, a train wreck, blood, you know, whatever. You know, once in a while it's good, but you got to balance it out a little bit. And now 3 weeks have gone by. CM Punk hasn't wrestled a second, you know, so. All right. Before we wrap this up, I just want to give a couple of quick shout outs. Want to give a special shout out and a thank you to Joey. I don't know if that's my cousin. I don't know if he's still tuning in, but I do have a cousin with that name. So if it's Joey, he can't be my cousin, because my cousin would not just send me 99 cents. Joey, if that's really you, the decimal point is a couple of notches off, motherfucker. I'm joking. I want to give a shout out to Will Chisholm. Thank you for the 5-spot, brother. Do I see Mercedes showing up at the Royal Rumble? I know some people like, ugh. I think we talked about this Saturday and Sunday. That's why we're going to consolidate shows too. Mercedes Moné, if she is cleared to return to the ring, I think there is a good chance of Mercedes Moné appearing at the Royal Rumble. If she is not ready, and my gut feeling says no, I think Mercedes Moné may be closer to a WrestleMania return, and maybe she ends up reuniting with Bayley, and maybe you get something like Asuka and Io Sky, or maybe Asuka and Kairi Sane, or something with Mercedes and Bayley versus somebody. Royal Rumble is definitely possible. The thing is, though, is, you know, look, we talked about it yesterday. If Jade Cargill's in the Royal Rumble, I don't expect her to win it. I expect 10 to 15 women eliminate her all at the same time. So she loses nothing, and people will be like, it took 10 women to eliminate her. If Mercedes, listen, I am convinced Mercedes Moné will be back in the WWE ring in 2024, period. When you realize, you know, the amount of money being generated right now, and you cannot look at TKO Group holding stock and say, oh, it's down to $74 a share. You know, the company's still worth $15 billion. You know what I mean? So you cannot look at the stock. The stock dropped a significant amount because of that SmackDown TV deal was very underwhelming. I think the Raw TV deal will be announced very, very soon. Now, since it's publicly official that CM Punk is on Raw, you know, that amps it up a little bit of an extra notch. Look, if Warner Brothers Discovery could create a show on a Saturday night based around one person, you look at Nick Khan going to these networks and like, look what I got. Look at the it's like an extra ingredient. He got another huge piece for Monday Night Raw. So, you know, but Mercedes, Vince is not leaving. Vince is not leaving anytime soon, but Vince's power is severely diminished. But at the end of the day, Triple H is the one in charge. Nick Khan is the one in charge. John Laurinaitis is no longer there. Everybody that is in that company seems to be happy. Be aware, in the very near future, you're going to see a lot of places reporting that the vibe backstage in the WWE is very positive right now. You can tell by what you see on TV, what you see on social media, how people, you know, talk to each other. You could tell if the vibe is a good vibe or not. Just like you could tell if the vibe in AEW, if it's a little shaky or not, you know, and it's just common sense. But you'll see a bunch of places that, you know, my sources backstage tell me that the vibe is at the best. Remember when the merger completed, remember what people reported, that the vibe in WWE right now, the locker room, is a lot of unrest, a lot of uneasiness, not knowing what's going to happen in the future. And literally 6 weeks later, it's a 180. Mercedes Moné will be back in the WWE in 2024. I don't know if she'll be able to return physically in time for the Royal Rumble. Her injury was pretty severe. Dean Parks with Johnny, thank you for the 2-spot. Does she return as Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks? Oh, that is very easy. Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks. Period. It's like, you know, like Michin, Mia Yim. You know, like she's Michin, but she's Mia Yim also. She can use Mercedes as a nickname online. There's actually some people that actually will use a little bit of a nickname as well. No, she'll be Sasha Banks. Everybody in the WWE knows her as Sasha Banks. This is even when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall returned. When they returned at No Way Out 02, they were still Kevin Nash and Scott Hall because that's how they were known in the NWO. So when they came back as members of the NWO, they kept the same names. But when Kevin Nash made a surprise appearance in the Royal Rumble, he was Diesel. You know, that's a little different. But no, Sasha Banks will be back as Sasha Banks. Period. He also says, thank you for 5-spot, Johnny. This works for the young audience. Kids love anime. That's what it is. If you're talking about the Nakamura stuff is tremendous. That was a lot of hard work put in. Listen, there's aspects of Raw that are supposed to appeal to all different demos. You know, I mean, I don't focus on demo ratings, so to speak, unless it's newsworthy. But that's why we had some lighthearted fun with the Katana Chance Kaden Carter video that aired. We saw that video a couple of weeks ago. But it was more because like 90% of the video was partying. And then after they party, they like, that's why we're going for the tag team titles. It's like, how's about showing yourself working out in the ring beating up people, and you're like, we're focused. We want the tag titles. Instead, they're eating cotton candy and they're partying and they're drawing little painting on their faces. And they're like, we're ready for the tag titles. I think I compared it to the scene in Rocky 3 when when Mr. T is in his basement working out and they show Rocky Balboa and he's dancing and partying it up and having girls kiss him on the cheek and he's riding the exercise bike. And meanwhile, Mr. T is going, That tells me he's ready. And that's why Mr. T won the belt and Rocky got his ass kicked. You can't win, Rock. All right. Joey, my cousin. Do I see Roman turning face in the near future? No. No, there are too many baby faces for him to face. I don't know if CM Punk faces Roman Reigns anytime soon. Yes, Raw, SmackDown, but I don't see it happening anytime. I can see it happening in a house show. Could be a premium live event, maybe a crown jewel or something like that. That's if even CM Punk goes to Saudi Arabia. Now, Roman Reigns still has some matches down the pipeline that, it fits him as a heel. I think what will happen with Roman Reigns is as time goes by, the crowd will just start cheering him more. I want everybody to remember this. When they were trying to get Roman Reigns heel, they tried with Braun Strowman. They tried with Brock Lesnar. They tried with all these different people. And I think Brock Lesnar was probably the one that was able to get him more over. Or Sami Zayn is another one, Kevin Owens. But they would have a difficult time trying to get Roman over as this major heel. And this is the early days before the bloodline really took over. Finally, Roman hit the groove and Roman became heel. Now, after COVID ended or, people were able to go to shows again, Roman was getting cheered. I mean, you look back maybe even 9 months ago, a year ago, when he would call the town, acknowledge me, people would cheer. Even now, to an extent, when Roman puts his finger in the air, you'll see, 2/3 of the crowd will do it with him. So there is that respect there for Roman Reigns. There's a little bit of bitterness because his schedule is so light right now, but that's not necessarily his fault. That's the way WWE structured it. That's why I never criticized Brock Lesnar back in the day. When people used to be like, Brock, I fucking hate him. He never shows up. And I'm like, that's his fault? What is he supposed to do? Like, just show up surprisingly? Like, hey, I know WWE. I know you didn't book me today, but I was in town, so, put me out there. There's a freebie. It's on me. It's WWE's decision. So Roman, I don't see turning face soon, but I think that respect will start coming across again and a little bit more cheering. And I think you'll gradually see him warming up. Look, LA Knight never technically turned babyface, so to speak. Just the crowd started cheering for him more and more and more. And WWE was still putting him up against baby faces. He had the match or two with Rey Mysterio. He had some, and the crowd was still, a little bit more and more into LA Knight. And then finally, he started beating up on heels, or focusing on heels more. So it just happens that way. So, all right, we're at the 2-hour mark. I am going to jet out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. And just quickly before I go off the air, for those who are interested, I have one audio clip that I'll play tonight, only because it's kind of memorable. And, it's a very infamous moment in the Attitude Era. But just to plug a couple of things for this week in history, these are a couple of pictures related, obviously No Holds Barred, Super Clash 3, but a couple other things that are pretty noteworthy this week. Ricky Dozan passed away after being stabbed in a nightclub. Vince McMahon performed Stand Back, that infamous song. The Muda Scale was created this week. Steve Austin cut his final ECW promo ever. Bret Hart made his WCW debut. Ric Flair had a quote-unquote heart attack on Monday Nitro. The McMahon-Helmsley era began this week in history. Batista and Rey Mysterio won the tag team titles. We had the Battle of the Sexes take place at Armageddon. It was Chris Jericho and Christian versus Lita and Trish Stratus, which was a pretty interesting match when it went down. Who remembers this? Who remembers the incident with Michelle Beadle and AJ Lee, a tribute to the troops? Michelle Beadle was supposedly friends with CM Punk at the time, and she was backstage at tribute to the troops, and she went up to CM Punk joking around, and she's like, "What's up, fuckface?" And AJ Lee is like, "What did you say to my boyfriend?" And it just blew up from there. Look at Trish Stratus. Anybody remember she was going to be in a CBS TV series? I don't think it ever went off the ground. I don't remember the details, but we definitely talk about it on This Week in History. Booker T and Goldust, I believe, won the tag titles this week in history. As we said earlier, it is the anniversary of Sami Zayn winning the NXT Championship, Kevin Owens making his NXT debut, and obviously in the left-hand corner, you can see Vince McMahon, because we actually just brought this up 2 or 3 weeks ago. Remember? Good guy versus bad guy. This week in 1997, Vince McMahon cut this promo on Monday Night Raw.
It has been said that anything can happen here in the World Wrestling Federation, but now more than ever, truer words have never been spoken. This is a conscious effort on our part to open the creative envelope, so to speak, in order to entertain you in a more contemporary manner. Even though we call ourselves sports entertainment because of the athleticism involved, the key word in that phrase is entertainment. The WWF extends far beyond the strict confines of sports presentation into the wide open environment of broad-based entertainment. We borrow from such program niches like soap operas, like The Days of Our Lives, or music videos such as those on MTV, daytime talk shows like Jerry Springer and others, cartoons like the King of the Hill on Fox, sitcoms like Seinfeld, and other widely accepted forms of television entertainment. We in the WWF think that you, the audience, are quite frankly tired of having your intelligence insulted. We also think that you're tired of the same old simplistic theory of good guys versus bad guys. Surely the era of the superhero who urge you to say your prayers and take your vitamins is definitely passé. Therefore, we've embarked upon a far more innovative and contemporary creative campaign that is far more invigorating and extemporaneous than ever before. However, due to the live nature of Raw and the War Zone, we encourage some degree of parental discretion as it relates to the younger audience allowed to stay up late. Other WWF programs on USA, such as Saturday Morning Live Wire and Sunday Morning Superstars, where there's a 40% increase in the younger audience, obviously, however, need no such discretion. We are responsible television producers who work hard to bring you this outrageous, wacky, wonderful world known as the WWF. Through some 50 years, the World Wrestling Federation has been an entertainment mainstay here in North America and all over the world. One of the reasons for that longevity is as the times have changed, so have we. I'm happy to say that this new, vibrant, creative direction has resulted in a huge increase in television viewership, for which we thank USA Network and TSN for allowing us to have the creative freedom, but most especially, we would like to thank you for watching. Raw and the War Zone are definitely the cure for the common show.
All right. You know, I never focused on it, but I always forget that in that promo, they pretty much were saying that the Saturday morning shows, they would be clean. You know, they did not have this, adult formula. I don't remember, it ever going TV PG or 14 on a Saturday. They kept it pretty kid friendly, looking back on that. AEW Wednesday, they have 3 more Continental Classic matches. Jay White and Mark Briscoe, Swerve Strickland and Jon Moxley, and Rush and Jay Lethal. The Von Erichs, Marshall and Ross, will be appearing. We had a little conversation yesterday about them. Hangman Adam Page will be taking on Roderick Strong. Samoa Joe will talk. Ruby Soho will be taking on Rio. And Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega will be speaking as well. NXT. Do I have NXT lined up? I know tomorrow Nikita Lyons will return. What did she say? I'm all woman with a whole lot of whooping. She'll be returning tomorrow. Dijak versus Eddie Thorpe will be happening. Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Fallon Henley versus Noam Dar and Lash Legend. Wolfgang and Mark Coffey versus Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. We'll have the NXT Men's Breakout Tournament begin. We went into the participants last Wednesday, and I believe also Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Blair Davenport, Cora Jade will be appearing. Honestly, I don't know what kind of rating this week is going to score. It kind of feels a little bit underwhelming. Hopefully Dragon Lee will be able to make an appearance, and we'll have the fallout from NXT Deadline. So those are your quick previews for tomorrow, but I'm going to jet out of here. Now, this week for our Patreon family, I'll be live on Tuesday. I think it's an off-the-cuff episode, so I'll put up a thread late tonight if you have questions you want me to answer. And Wednesday, we'll briefly get into NXT a little bit. I got some fallout from Deadline. We'll cover what goes down tomorrow, and we'll get into AEW a little bit, like last week. I think last week we went just slightly over an hour. And then by this weekend, I should have a couple of announcements as far as what we're going to do heading into 2024. Definitely some changes are happening, but I don't want to announce it until I know for certain what's going to be changing. And one change I will tell you is really going to depend on all of you. There's going to be one show that's going to be, kind of consolidating with another, and I'm going to let everybody decide which night or which day we stream that show. So, in 2024, what I believe is going to happen, if I'll give you this, is especially during the week, there's going to be one main show. Kind of like what we used to do in the DTKC show days. There's going to be one main show, and what I'll probably do is spend those other days making clips and putting those clips online. So if somebody just wants to hear a discussion about a particular topic, they can access it rather than just put a whole show up. And, but once I got everything pretty much set, I'll let everybody know. But there's definitely going to be some streamlining in 2024. But I think if everything ends up happening the way I am seeing it, I don't think anybody's going to have any problem whatsoever. So it's not a state of the channel. It's just an announcement that, there's no longer going to be a show on this night. This night's going to be a little longer. But I will tell you each week, the amount of time is going to be cut in half because right now is just too many hours. I love doing it, but when you get every week the same questions asked 2-3 times and you covered it on 3 shows, I think everybody would rather just have one big show and maybe like one interactive Q&A type of deal, and that's it. So, but there's a couple of things going on behind the scenes, some negotiations, some ideas, but I won't make it public until I know 100%. So I thank everybody for joining me today, and I hope to catch you all again very, very soon. Have a good night.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills, I paid the host, I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright, he's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.